Hello everyone, welcome to the first session of Vedic Astrology. So what is this Vedic Astrology? Vedic Astrology is nothing but the Indian form of astrology, right? Astrology, as you know, is used to predict the future. That is one of the key expectation of astrology. However, the Indian or the Vedic form of astrology also lays a lot of emphasis on finding the strengths and weaknesses or improvement areas in an individual. Because if you know your strengths and weaknesses, you can plan your life accordingly. You can view strengths and weaknesses also as things that come easily in our life and things that don't come easily in our lives, right? Sometimes what comes easily is called as strengths, right? What doesn't come easily is viewed as a weakness or an improvement area, right? So you may or may not agree with whatever I just mentioned for strengths and weaknesses, but be aware that astrology, the Indian form of astrology, also called as Vedic astrology, can provide insights on strengths and weaknesses so that you can plan your life better, right? So this is on what is Vedic astrology, what is Indian astrology. The term Vedic comes from Vedas, right, or scriptures from ancient India. Okay, we don't know the starting point for astrology. I think it is time immemorial, maybe 2000 years old, 4000 years old, or even earlier. We do not know that. Okay. So, Vedas or scriptures, form the basis. The sages have written the rules of astrology in the form of couplets, in the form of, dictums, rules, right? That's how these the techniques for astrology have been passed on from one generation to the other since time immemorial. Okay, so that is so much on the background for Vedic astrology. So Vedic astrology is the Indian form of astrology, which is what we are going to see, right? So one question that can raise in your mind is, how is this Vedic or Indian astrology different from Western astrology? Even Western astrology is a type of astrology. It can be used to predict the future, right? So, how is this Vedic astrology different from Indian astrology? So, that's what we are going to see now. Okay. Western
Yeah.
astrology is based on the tropical system, whereas Indian astrology is based on the sidereal
Sidereal.
system, right? So, what
Right.
is this tropical and what is this sidereal, right? The tropical is more sun based, okay, and it
Mm-hmm.
corresponds to the four seasons, like
Mm-hmm.
winter,
Yeah.
spring, so on and so forth. Whereas the sidereal is based on the position of
Right.
constellations that exist in the sky. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
tropical is fixed. That's
Right.
another key thing. Whereas this is moving. Okay, so
Yeah.
what is this fixed? If I say, if you look at it, stars and constellation, they do not remain in a fixed state. Okay,
No, they don't.
in fact, each star moves roughly 1 degree every 70 odd years.
Mm.
Okay, so that is a key difference, that you need to be aware of. The Western astrology is more fixed, whereas the Indian or Vedic astrology, right,
Mm-hmm.
that is more based on the moving.
And even when it is season based, wouldn't it be more fixed than
Correct,
when
it
we
is
are
like it
dealing
gets
with the star
repeated.
and yeah,
In tropical, it gets repeated, right? Your
correct. So you may not have some unique positions.
positions, the
Anybody can
changing
read your
positions,
yeah.
right? So the changing position, Indian astrology is better suited. Okay,
Right.
Indian astrology is better suited for taking into account the moving or the changing aspects of
Mm-hmm.
constellations. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
uh, here Western astrology is sign based. right?
Right.
Like you say, your Gemini,
Gemini.
Aquarius,
That's again your
Virgo.
sun sign, right? It's based on your
Yes,
sun
that
sign.
that's another thing. Here there is so much focus on the sun sign, right? So this is sun based. Whereas the Indian astrology is both sign as well as star based. And here, the signs are looked at both from sun, moon, and from what is known as rising sign. Okay, we will see that
The ascendant.
ascendant, right? We will see that shortly. So it is both star and sign based, and signs are looked at from multiple perspectives, and all signs are considered for the purpose of prediction. You don't just consider the sun sign alone. Here, all signs are considered.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is
That makes
another key aspect in Vedic astrology. See, the Western astrology is more psychology oriented, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Indian astrology is based on karma. When you say
Law
karma,
of karma.
right? Life is like a continuum, right? This is a key aspect in the Indian astrology. Life is a continuum. The mistakes you make, the good deeds you do in your previous lives continue to impact, right? Just like the Newton's third law, right? Every action, right? It
Equal and opposite
produces,
reaction.
right? It produces an opposite reaction, equivalent and opposite reaction. And sometimes, this it takes time for this opposite reaction to materialize, right? It many times it takes time. Okay, so that is where the Indian or the Vedic astrology is different, right? It considers that humans have multiple lives, right? The soul lives, the body,
It believes on the soul lives so many
the
lives, and it
right,
goes through
the
different
eternal nature of soul,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the soul takes different bodies, and the whatever good and bad deeds that you do, it continues to come and impact you in this lifetime also. This is a key aspect of Indian astrology, right? Because many times, what happens in our life currently, we are not able to ascertain why it is happening, right? Maybe good, maybe bad. We are not able to
You have
ascertain.
been always so good, and like, oh, I haven't done anything bad to
Yes,
anybody. Why is it bad things happening to me, or something like that? People
correct.
always whine and crib about it. But
Yes. So
it's
that,
not about just this life and this spectrum, right? So
yes, so that is where the Vedic or the Indian astrology is superior that way, okay, and quite different from approaching events, in the Indian form of astrology. See, one may believe this or not, right? As a person, you may not believe in the concept of multiple lifetimes. But still you can use Indian astrology, right? I said this is one of the belief system, but not even if you are a non-believer, even if you don't believe in the eternal
nature of
lifetime
the
theory,
spirit or the
right? Lifetime theory, you can still make use of Vedic astrology to predict things, to find out the pluses and minuses, to find out the good and bad times. That is the beauty. It's not that Vedic astrology expects you to believe everything. It is giving certain things, right? It is up
it
to you
gives
to
more
believe,
information on a natal chart than a
right? It gives, that's a very important point. Okay, it gives far many information, right, about you and your life. A very high level of information. Okay, very many information are provided, using different aspects of Vedic astrology. That is again a different thing, right? And the other thing is about aspects. The Western astrology talks about, the 4 aspects, whereas here square, trine, sextile, and all that. But here the aspects differ. Conjunction is not considered an aspect. Conjunction is 2 planets being together
in the same house, right?
Together in the same house. Here the aspects differ, and the strengths of the aspects also differ, right? That is again
the percentage of a square is different from a trine and a
trine.
sextile. How
So
many percentage of aspects that it would share and
share and
everything,
all
right?
that, so that differs. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's not an equal aspect, it
Yeah.
is an
It's not the
unequal
equal system. It's
an
yeah.
unequal way of aspect, and it differs by different planets.
Right.
Some planets have more focus to be considered, whereas some planets have fewer things to consider, right? And here in Western astrology, the focus is on sun sign, right? We
Yeah.
already said that, but here the focus is on lagna or ascendant or rising sign,
Ascendant.
right? So what is this rising sign? Rising sign is the sign that was rising over the eastern horizon where you were born, when you were born, right?
Right.
So there is a lot of importance to the rising sign, in Indian astrology, right? The other aspect is all planets have equal impact at all times, in Western astrology. Whereas in Indian astrology, some planets have more impact at certain times of the year. It's not
Okay.
day. Okay. Day may not be the right word. Some planets have more impact at certain times of the year, right? Or certain times of the lifetime,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
For example,
You're talking about what dasha
w-
or what bhukti and what antra dasha or something
so
like
this
that
is
it is.
based on Dasha Bhukti thing,
Concept.
right? So we are going to see that, in detail. The other thing is Western astrology considers Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Here, Indian astrology
The
does
outer
not
planets.
consider, right? So these are the key aspects, right, that one must know before going into other aspects,
Okay.
right?
That's another thing. Everybody asks like, why is my this thing is different from here? Because the way it is done and the degrees apart is different. That's the reason.
So the rising sign or ascendant that you will see in Western astrology will be different from Indian astrology. That is
That is
because
correct.
of the system that we follow, the tropical
E-
system and the sidereal
Exactly.
system,
Like yeah, the
right?
Placidus, but it is tropical Placidus. Here also it's sidereal Placidus, but still
It is,
that will be it.
it takes into account the change
Correct.
in degree every
Exactly.
70 years, right?
That is correct.
Yes. So this is considered as the astro chart. So we have seen the difference. Now let's get into the chart, right?
Okay.
So this is considered as the astro chart. Okay.
Right.
So we have divided the zodiac into 12 signs, right? We have divided the zodiac into 12 signs. But a key aspect in the Indian astrology is we also consider the stars, right? Stars that make up the 12 signs.
The 27 stars.
The 27 stars. We are going to see that in detail. Stars are nothing but constellations that appear, in the sky, right? So we have the entire zodiac is divided into 27 stars. At the same time, zodiac is also divided into 12 signs, right? Both are there. So for example, this is Aries. Okay. Aries will have certain stars, right? Aries will have some 3 stars, and so on and so forth, right? And the stars, we also consider what are known as padas, right?
Right.
That is also considered. For example, if you're going to talk about, let's say, Ashwini,
Limbs of each star.
yes, right? Ashwini will have 4 levels, right? You can say that, Ashwini 1, 2, 3, 4 is what we consider. And moon is the one that is fastest moving, right, of the planet. Moon takes approximately 6 hours to cross a particular pada, okay, or the sub level of Ashwini.
One Ashwini nakshatra.
One Ashwini sub level of nakshatra.
Yeah, that is the first level or second level or whatever.
Exactly, right?
One
So
sub level, it takes 6 hours.
One sub level or pada, it approximately takes about 6 hours, right? It will be plus or minus. So that is how we need to look at. So
it takes one day for
kind
one
of
entire
kind of, it is
Kind of.
approximately one day.
Sometimes it lasts the next day to 1.5 days
it
also,
it
or even
depends.
shorter than that.
It depends, right? So that is why 6 hours
Mm.
is an approximation, I said. So
Mm.
essential thing to notice, there are 12 signs, okay, and there are 27 stars,
Right.
right?
So
So that
Padas
is
makes it 108,
what.
27 times.
Correct, correct. So we will see that, as we come to the stars
Mm.
aspect, right?
So
Before moving, I also want to talk about the North Indian
North
versus
Indian chart
South
first.
Indian chart. What we are going to cover is based entirely on the South Indian,
Mm.
right? See, the South Indian, is kind of, moving, the
The
transitory
houses
nature
are
of the
fixed.
houses. The houses are not fixed, okay.
In South
Here,
Indian, the houses are fixed or not?
see, in North Indian, the ascendant is always written here,
Right.
okay, in the topmost quadrant,
Correct.
okay. Both North Indian and South Indian are same, okay. I will not say they are different,
Right.
because both consider, the changing ascendants. It gives importance to houses, it gives
Right.
importance to, uh, different moon signs and all that, okay. It just the way the chart is presented, that according to me is the difference, okay. The ascendant or the rising sign is always
Okay. So the
written.
Kendras are like in the, and it is
So
also, this is anti-clockwise and that is
exactly,
clockwise.
so this is anti-clockwise and this is clockwise movement,
Mm.
right? That is another key thing, okay. Here, if you see here, it is moving in an anti-clockwise. One,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whereas
Right.
here it goes in a clockwise direction.
But in this case, Aries is always the house number one, but your Lagna.
No, no.
So Aries, position of Aries will not change, but your
Correct.
house will be your in the thing. But in here, the position of Aries can change depending on which your Lagna is, because
Correct.
the Lagna comes
Exactly.
as house one.
That position can change, right? See, it
Right.
is like, if I were to give a crude example, right? uh, you have a chocolate that is wrapped, right?
Yeah.
Multiple layers of wrapping, right? uh,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on how you want to peel the wrapping, right?
Correct.
So that is a very crude way of looking. Or if you want to wrap the chocolate again, right, or you're trying to wrap something, how you want to
Mm-hmm.
wrap it,
Right.
right? That's the way, that is the difference I see between North Indian and South Indian. It's the way the planets are looked at, it is the way the chart is drawn. That is the only difference that I'm seeing. Here it is anti-clockwise, here it is clockwise, that's all. So there is no
Does
difference
the
as.
degrees, the way the degree
No, there
calculation
is
or
nothing, no
the,
difference as such.
no difference?
No difference as such. The only difference is clockwise and anti-clockwise. That is the only difference between North Indian and South Indian, right? So that is the key
Right.
difference that I'm seeing between North Indian and South Indian. For our discussion, we will be using only the South Indian based system of astrology, right? Of viewing.
Right.
We are going to be covering only Indian or Vedic astrology, right? But within that,
Right. Right.
the
But the chart
format of the
system,
chart,
the format of the chart would be the
what
thing
is
you would
known
be
as
using
South
is
Indian.
South Indian. Right.
Okay. So this is the rectangle based chart is what we are going to be
Right.
using.
But why have you started your house one in that one as house 12, but house one is Aries is
I've
there?
just given an example, house one here. I can give you another example where I have started house one here.
Okay, gotcha. That
So
makes
that
sense.
is the difference.
Okay.
I said it depends on the rising sign. See, this is your
Yeah, right, right, right.
rising
In
sign
here it
here.
is rising sign is
Here it is the
Taurus,
rising sign, right?
is Gemini. Okay.
Right, Gemini. Which we are going to see next.
C next. Okay, got it.
Okay. So if you see this is the zodiac, right?
Uh-huh.
This is the zodiac, uh, which is divided
Okay.
into
Yeah.
12 signs,
12 Rashis.
right? 12, or it is called as Rashis,
Mm.
right? This is
Mm-hmm.
the. So here, if you see this, it's also called Mesham Aries, this particular thing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rishabham Taurus, Mithunam Gemini, Katakam Cancer, Simham Leo, Kanni Virgo, Tulam Libra, Virchigam Scorpio, Dhanusu Sagittarius, Makaram Capricorn, Kumbham Aquarius, and Meenam Pisces. Right? So this is the way. Your rising sign, as I showed, can be here.
Right.
What
That
is
will
known
become
as
your
Lagna.
house 1.
Right? That will become your house 1.
Right.
So in that case, it will become 2. This will become 3.
Right. 3, 4,
This will become
and so
4.
on and so forth.
Right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in any chart, you will have 12 houses. That is always fixed. That is not going to change.
Yeah. Right.
It will change based on your rising sign. I mean, where it is going to start will change based on your rising sign. Right?
There
For
are
example,
only 12 houses, that's fixed.
Correct. On the contrary, let me just do this again. My first can start from, let's say, here. Right? This can be my rising sign.
It can be a Scorpio, Vrichika Lakna.
Right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is 12.
12. Right.
Right? So this is rising sign. This is also known as Lagna, also known as ascendant. Right? We typically mention that, by a horizontal line. Okay. We draw an horizontal line, not over what I have written. Okay.
No. In the corner of the top.
It is normally when you put an ascendant line like this, it refers, this is known as Lagna. Okay. Right? Now, we talked about, the Western astrology sun sign, right? What is that? It means when someone is born, where sun is posited, that is known as your sun sign.
In the month where it is, the sun rises.
Okay, in the month. So thanks for correcting, right? In the month when that person is born, that is known as sun sign. In the Indian astrology, so in Western astrology, the month in which you are born, it is corresponded to the position of the sun, and then you are called as different signs, like a Leo, Virgo, Taurus, so on and so forth in Western astrology. We don't follow that in the Indian astrology. In the Indian astrology, let's say you are born, for example, 9/11/85, let's say. Okay. And let's say you are born at 10:45 a.m. in a particular place. Let's take Bangalore as an example. You are born at this time. When you were born, what is the rising sign? Right? Let's say Vrichika Scorpio. That becomes your rising sign. Okay. Let's assume for a moment on this date, okay, your Rashi is Mithunam. What is that Rashi? Where moon is posited.
That is Gemini. That's where the moon is.
Right? This becomes your moon sign or Rashi.
Right.
Moon sign or Rashi.
Yeah.
This becomes your moon sign or Rashi. This is something, you must know. Right? So this is my ascendant and this is my moon sign or Rashi.
Right.
Right? Where the moon is posited.
Depending on where the time you were born.
Right? Where you, yes, exactly.
Latitude and
right.
I mean where you are born, the place of birth and the time of birth gives
possibly
you the sun.
In the month of November, first half of November, sun is going to be here.
You're breaking.
Right?
It is
sun
Libra,
is
right?
going to be, somewhere in the month of November, sun is going to be in Tulam or Libra. Okay. Right. In Western astrology, you are called as Libra.
Right.
Right? In Indian astrology, we don't even call you as a Libra ascendant. We call you as or a Libra sun sign. We call you
call it as Vrichika ascendant.
Vrichika or a Scorpio ascendant, right? And Gemini Rashi. This is how we call. An individual is referred with both ascendant as well as Rashi or moon sign. Okay. The sun sign, that is the fulcrum of the Western astrology, is not even referenced. We look at where sun is positive. Definitely we look at that. And sun is given a lot of importance. No doubts about it. But when you are referring to an individual, when someone is referring to me as an individual, right? The first thing that person, an astrologer will say is, sir, you are this, Scorpio ascendant and Gemini Rashi.
Correct.
Right? So that is what I am going to say, and that is what I will say. Of course, I will consider everything else, but this is where I will.
This is the basic, basic your like name or whatever that you want to identify yourself.
Exactly. It is like your Aadhaar in India, or the social security number in the US, right? So that is your identity. In astrology, the identity is your ascendant or rising sign and the moon sign.
Right. Okay.
Right. So these two are the important things.